What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and up until now, I've been trying to avoid talking too much about the E3 leaks because there's just been so many it'd be impossible to cover all of them, but today, one came out that is so mind-bending, so stupid in my opinion, that I'm forced to dig into it just because if this is true, it is going to be catastrophic for Microsoft. So today, people have accidentally started tipping off all sorts of stuff about what their conference is going to be, what's going to be on the Xbox One docket. And it is not only bad, it is downright insane. So let me just back up a tiny bit and just express some of my views about Xbox, because I think that the Xbox One is phenomenal, but a big problem is it just doesn't have that many good games. I mean, it does have some, the problem is that they're so spaced out. I am a massive fan of Halo 5. I thought some of the stuff that was in Sea of Thieves was interesting, and I really like Gears of War 4, but they just haven't come out with much else. I mean, you can say that stuff like Ori of the Blind Forest and some of the indie projects have been amazing, but there's just nothing that can really compete to some of the stuff that's coming out on PlayStation or the Nintendo Switch. So how are they going to compete? Apparently, by doubling down on the few things they have left. Specifically, these leaks are pointing at they are going to try and come out with a new Forza Horizon game, which is a good idea, Halo 6, which, if it's good, is definitely going to win a lot of fans back, and 3 separate Gears of War games. Yes, you heard me correctly, 3. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Different games. Now, I am a massive fan of Gears of War. As you can see in my background, I not only own all the games, I own every version of every game. I've read the comics, I even read the books, and there's always been a really big flaw to this series because it doesn't know how to treat itself. While the games are a little bit more lighthearted and have characters being silly and trying to fight off giant spiders, the books and comics are extremely serious, dealing with the fact that this war is so chaotic. There's a scene where somebody is writing a letter to their dead parents to try and deal with the loss of them, and we see people struggling with being in prison. The books of Gears of War are extremely dark, and I thought that that was a nice touch. And the video games being kind of lighthearted, I also thought that worked, but the two things together never quite aligned, which was a problem for me. Well, according to these leaks, it seems like they're going to try and do everything with these upcoming 3 Gears of War games. The leak is saying that we're going to get Gears of War 5, which is going to be a straight-up sequel, kind of just following up the events of these new enemy bad guys. We're going to be getting a Gears of War strategy game that's going to be playing like Halo Wars. And this game, I mean, love it or hate it, it's different. It's definitely something that had a lot of passion put into it, and it definitely tried to create its own style of real-time strategy. I respect him for that. But the rumor is that this is going to be focusing more on the early aspects of the war, slightly after E-Day, as they called it, Emergent Day. Now, that's a good setting, but turning a game that's always been really popular for its tight shooting and sort of over-the-shoulder camera angles into a far-up, real-time strategy game is not a great move. But the final leak, and the one that is just making me want to claw my eyes out, is the fact that they are now trying to make a Gears of War Battle Royale. Yes, that is completely true. What they're talking about is Gears Battle Royale. You're going to be jumping out of a helicopter, landing onto a giant map, and trying to scramble for different weapons. Now, the reason this is just crazy to me is that it won't work. I will think that they'll probably be able to put 50 or maybe even 100 people on a map, but the problem is, Gears of War as a series, and I say this as somebody who's put thousands of hours into the multiplayer, it's based around imbalanced weapons. That is a big part of the gameplay. If you pick up a super gun that's able to do crazy damage or see people through walls, you can, by necessity, deal more damage than an average player. You can't put something like that in a Battle Royale game. It will not function. So the fact that they're even attempting to do this means that it is going to be completely reworking the core facets of why this freaking functioned in the first place. It drives me nuts that everybody is trying to cash in on just these ideas, these trends. Microsoft should be better than this. I feel like a lot of stuff they've come up with recently is just somehow getting more and more awful. The Xbox as a console is still really good. I think that it's slightly underpowered, and you sort of notice that when you're playing stuff like Fortnite on one console and then switching over to the Xbox One. It's noticeable that it's not the strongest hardware, but they managed to really do the most with it by inviting developers to come and produce stuff on their platform. And I feel like the stuff they did with the Xbox One X, while not exactly my favorite thing, was, well, probably a smart move. I mean, there are a lot of Xbox One gamers who moved over to the X and now are claiming that they have the best third-party experiences. So I have to respect that that was a smart strategy. But this, of trying to just get their tiny pool of games and triple down on it, instead of creating the stuff that people crave the most, like freaking Scalebound, it just seems like I live in Bizarro World. Microsoft is really coming up to a do-or-die moment. Now, Xbox fans really don't like when I say this, but I want you to hear me very clearly. Microsoft has to win E3. I'm not being hyperbolic here. This is not me being over the top. They need to have a winning show. Every game that comes out on stage needs to be remarkable. And the reason I say that is because Xbox fans are losing hope. I say this as somebody who still plays his periodically. When you come out with stuff like Sea of Thieves, which gets a 68 on Metacritic, and State of Decay, which gets about a 62, these games are by definition below average. These are not console sellers. And then, when you follow up with an announcement like the fact that the next Halo game is going to be an arcade exclusive, that is once again hurting your consumers. People that love your console are starting to think that you don't love them. And that is the worst thing of all. I feel like Microsoft is beginning to forget the importance of consumer trust. Let's talk about that just for a second. The idea of consumer trust is very simple, which is that you and I have an understanding. You trust me to a certain extent. That's why you hit the subscribe button. You want to hear my opinions. You want to see me rip apart games. You want to see what I think about different aspects. Well, when it comes to different game studios, we build up the same thing. I was such a big fan of early Halo games, I'd buy anything that had the Halo name on it, to the point at which I read all the Halo books and everything, just because I was so fascinated by the different aspects of this universe. They had built up a tremendous amount of trust in me, and therefore I was willing to follow them to the ends of the earth. But as the games got weirder and the series took more twists and turns, it was harder to stick along for the ride. And now, Microsoft, with all of its audience, is starting to see the same thing. They keep trying to push the Xbox brand into different spaces, trying to expand it to be more PC-focused, and trying to make it more of a Netflix service with their Games Pass. But never once have they seemed to sit down and think, is this the right move? And that's why I say that when they take the stage at E3 2018, it needs to be remarkable. Stuff that is trending all across the world. If this isn't something that just really redefines the Xbox console, it's not going to be enough. Now, I'm just saying that because people are coming to the end of their rope. And when that happens, they start looking for another rope to grab onto. The people who have stuck with you the longest are starting to wonder, is PlayStation the correct path, or is Nintendo Switch the future? And if it's not going to be something crazy like you coming out on stage and doing a 20-minute demo of just how mind-blowing Halo 6 is, people may start grabbing that next rope. But these have just been my random thoughts about some of these, oh my gosh, rather awful E3 leaks, but what do you think about it? Do you still own an Xbox One, and do you think that this could be the future of it? Do you think that they could still manage to pull it together, or is it way too late? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm thinking that I'm probably going to break 100,000 subscribers here in just the next couple days, so seriously, liking and sharing this video helps me out a ton. Oh, and by the way, keep dreaming. Sorry, I'm so excited about hitting 100,000. I lost my train of thought for a second there. Alright, I'm going to go play some Halo. Oh, hey, I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad, and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.